Hello subscribers, today we'll be looking at the Jurassic World Primal Attack Savage Strike Scutosaurus by Mattel. Now it's nice to have another Scutosaurus in my collection. The only other one I have is the tiny one by Safari Ltd. And if you don't have this, I'd say get him as soon as you can, since based on the prices I've seen on eBay, it seems to be one of the more popular Primal Attack figures, and will probably be a rare one in the future that will go for very high prices. So let's take a look at the packaging. Comes in the same old but awesome Primal Attack box with the red, yellow, and orange. And then on the back, you got an artwork of the Scutosaurus, as well as some repaints here that I really don't care about. So let's waste no time and release the Scutosaurus. Here is the Scutosaurus. And then when the silhouettes of these figures were revealed in the summer of 2019, okay, 2019 has already been that long already, we're already into 2021. But anyways, when Mattel revealed the silhouettes at, I think, Comic-Con, yeah, this one is I had high expectations for, because it is kind of hard to screw up with something like a Scutosaurus. It's just a quadrupedal, short-tailed, robust reptile with spikes on his face, and they did a very good job on this figure. I do have a few minor issues with it, but not with the sculpt. The sculpt is almost perfect in my opinion, for Mattel standards at least. The scalation of the Scutosaurus is very well done. For the Primal Attack prehistoric animals, I'd say this one is right up there with the Sarcosuchus and the Articulation in terms of good detailing. See, across the body you've got these very nicely sculpted scales, with these crocodilian-like osteoderms on top. So you got the underbelly, even has some smoother scales. Most of the time, these Mattel figures don't really have scales on the bottom, they just have very smooth underbellies. So it's nice that Mattel gave this one scales on the underbelly. So you got underneath the feet right there, 5 toes on each limb. See, you got, I also like how they added these lines on top right there. Shows how muscular this animal is. Then you've got the stubby tail right there. Then you've got the head. Scutosaurus is known for having a short skull with spikes on its cheeks. So that's about it for the detailing. Now let's talk about the articulation. You can move the legs. That's 4 points for articulation. You can move the head. That's 5. And if you want to count the action feature right here, that makes 6 points for articulation. I'm assuming that the Scutosaurus is supposed to be striking his enemies with the spikes on his cheeks, but I'm not sure if that will be very reliable though. My first thoughts on the color scheme, I thought it was okay, but it wasn't very suitable for an animal like Scutosaurus. I expected something like maybe some green colors, maybe even some browns. But I have this figure for a couple weeks, and the paint job is really growing on me. On the bottom you've got the typical gray underbelly, the spikes are like light gray, the eye is yellow, but the main colors is it's like a purplish red across the figure, then these blue stripes on the body. I think it looks very well done though. I much rather prefer it than, say, the Cryolophosaurus color scheme, or even the new Sarcosuchus. Let's move on to the comparisons. So, let's do the Safari Ltd Scutosaurus first. Now, the Mattel one is far from being scientifically accurate, or at least fully scientifically accurate, but compared to the more accurate Safari version right here, this one isn't too bad. And at least it has the basic idea of what Scutosaurus looked like. You know, short tail, robust body, and spikes on the short skull. There's the Scutosaurus next to the Attack Pack Articulation and Gasosaurus. I really like how all 3 of these Primal Attack figures, and some other figures in the Primal Attack line, have 3 different types of colors. You know, the Scutosaurus having the gray underbelly, the purplish red, and the blues, as well as the Articulation having the cream underbelly, the brown, and the red. Those types of colors, combined with their nicely done sculpts, makes all 3 of these very compatible with each other. Next up, here is the battle damaged Gasosaurus, and paint jobs wise, they're not super compatible, as the Gasosaurus has a more realistic paint job, and also because it's brighter. Here are 3 other non-dinosaur terrestrial reptiles by Mattel. There is the 2019 Dimetrodon, as well as the 2020 Postosuchus and Sarcosuchus. These 3 have very good sculpts. This guy has good plastic quality, but pretty bad sculpt. Here's the Savage Strike Scutosaurus next to the Soundstrike, Irritator, and Majungasaurus. By looking at the paint jobs of these guys, you can see how much Mattel improved the colors from their Dino Rivals line. Last but not least, let's compare the reviewed figure next to the Collecte Minis Effectiveness. So that is my review on the Mattel Jurassic World Savage Strike Scutosaurus. I definitely recommend you guys picking it up. It's a nice figure of an obscure Permian reptile that's becoming increasingly harder to find, based on what I've seen online, and due to the fact that it was very hard for people like me to find this in stores. So if I had to give this guy a rating, I'd say he gets the 9 out of 10. Why doesn't he get the 10, some of you may ask? Well, it's because, yeah, it's pretty poor plastic quality. Feel how thin and cheap it is? This one probably won't be surviving rough play, in a roughhousing child's hand. But other than that, this is a very well done figure, from the detailing to the proportions and the paint job. So if you guys like this review, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next review.